So once we've gathered the information from the video, we've actually got position and time data gathered. We want to analyze that just like we would in a hand-drawn graph or with data that we collect by hand. So I'm going to step you through those parts of the process. I'm going to enlarge the video again so you can see the tools a little more easily. There are the original data points that I plotted along the line of the incline, and here are the tools that I opened up again by clicking this button in the lower right. So there's a couple tools we want to use there. The first is to set the frame of reference. So remember, when we're studying motion, a frame of reference is everything. And the frame of reference tool, it looks like the X and Y axes that are sliding up and to the right there. And you'll notice if I click on that tool and then click on the video screen, I set my X and Y axes wherever I want. And you might notice in the background there, in fact I'll make the video a little smaller as I click around, that no matter where I click, all the data points adjust, and the graph does as well. So the computer's doing a lot of work for us behind the scenes. What we usually do is set the origin, the 0 position, right where the object begins moving. And so when I do that, you can see that the graph adjusts to show that at t equals 0 seconds, I'm roughly at the 0 position. And don't worry about being too perfect on that, but the idea is to set that frame of reference so that you have a 0 position that makes sense. But the computer will make any adjustments that you'd like. The other adjustment that we're going to make with the frame of reference is very subtle, but you'll notice here that the horizontal axis in our frame of reference goes straight across the screen, but the incline that the cart moved along actually slopes downward a bit. So you can probably see here in the video that there's a circle there on the x-axis. And so it's that circle that we're going to use to slightly rotate this x-axis. If I click and hold there, I can rotate that x-axis to go any direction I want. So practice this a bit, but I'm going to rotate the x-axis so now it's as if the cart's moving directly along the x-axis there. And all the adjustments have been made in the background. So again, if I hit Control R, it will sort of tidy up the screen so I can see everything. There's my position versus time graph with the cart starting at the 0 position and moving directly along the horizontal axis. So that's my frame of reference. Now the other tool that we want to use for now is a scaling tool. So anytime we shoot a video, we want to have an object with a known length in the video, in the frame. What I've put here is an easy object to work with. That's a meter stick. And the reason we want to do this is that the position data was gathered from the video frame, and it was measured in pixels. So as we clicked along the ramp, we were locating the cart with a pixel marking and not with necessarily a meter or a true distance marking. So the computer can convert pixels to meters for us with this next tool down here, and that looks like a little horizontal ruler. It's not the vertical ruler, it's easy to confuse, it's the horizontal ruler. And if I click on that tool and then click and drag from one end of the meter stick to the other. Okay, so there's a little bit of eyeballing going on here, but if I click from one end of the meter stick to the other, it's going to ask me, is the distance that you've just dragged over 1 meter? That's the default. It can be anything you want, but we usually use a meter stick. I'm going to say OK to that, and if I hit my Control R again and look now at my position data, you'll see the time is in seconds. It's always been in seconds by counting frames, but now the actual position along the incline is measured in meters, and that's reflected in the graph as well. So that's the two important steps in analyzing the data, is to be able to set a frame of reference and to set your scale. And with those two things set, then we're ready to move on and analyze our graphs as a final step.